All right, hello YouTubes. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different here. You can see I'm watching a YouTube video in my VLC. The reason I'm doing this is because it's a little bit more convenient than doing it straight on my browser. And it's a video by Moonsault Slayer. I don't have any opinion of Moonsault Slayer as a player or as a YouTuber, but a friend of mine had this video recommended, and I think it's actually a very interesting video because even though I disagree with him sort of on the foundation of what his arguments are in reference to Yoshimitsu and any potential nerfs that may be coming at the end of season one, I think there's a lot to discuss and there's actually an interesting conversation that can be had here. So I'm just going to respond to the video and I'll pause it at intermittent points to actually give my commentary on what he's saying and point out where he's right and where he's wrong because he is wrong in some ways in some places. So off I go.
So, what are you guys saying? It's time for chocolate. How you doing, Moon? I'm doing good. Hi, Moon. I'm struggling with Yoshi Online getting cooked. Yeah, bro. Yoshimitsu's not as easy as people make it seem. Yeah, the character's very powerful, but it takes a lot of skill to know where to place that power, right? People say just flash, low. Okay. All right, we're gonna do this.
So that's already one part where I sort of understand where he's coming from on, um, because he's correct. Yoshi has a very versatile toolkit, and he has a lot you need to keep track of in order to play him effectively. He's not a brain dead character, even though he's extremely powerful in this game. That's the last thing I would sort of call him. But once you get past that learning curve, Yoshi's power is sort of outsized compared to the rest of the cast, and he's capable of doing things no one else can do in Tekken 8. But the issue here is, I think it's because of social media and online and the influx of players Tekken 8 has that people sort of reduce their arguments to, quick little snippy comebacks or witty one-liners like, "Oh, just flash Lamau," and it's very frustrating to deal with. And that's where some of the anger is coming from on him. I completely understand that. It's just impossible to discuss things in Tekken 8. I swear this problem wasn't in the previous Tekken games. I'm not sure what it is, but the community just can't handle characters' power levels or anything.
I wasn't gonna do this, but we're gonna do. What you're seeing here is Zhao Yu doing a attack, and Yoshimitsu is spinning out of it. Hits Yoshimitsu. Yoshimitsu's -7. Yoshimitsu can spin out of. Now this is a tracking move, right? Yoshimitsu can spin out of that, and everyone's like, this is horrible. -7. Tracking, able to evade and spin. Nerf Yoshimitsu is what everyone says. The reason why I think it's completely ridiculous is because if you look at the quote tweet, "I'm not downloading Tekken 7 again. Someone show me if he did this in Tekken 7." This person here did the hard work and seeing whether or not Yoshimitsu can do it in Tekken 7, and surprise, surprise, he can. And this is the thing. It's like people say,
So I've got to stop him here before he continues on to his next point. I wouldn't appeal to previous games in any fashion for something like this, because whenever you do this, it's always somewhat hypocritical or it's always somewhat one-sided because people normally don't make these appeals whenever it comes to a character underperforming or the effects of a character's attack being very mediocre. Nobody ever makes these appeals. Like, if a move is butt cheeks in Tekken 8, but it's always been sort of ass, there's never the, "Oh, well, it was like this in Tekken 6, so it's fine. I'll just have to deal with it and get better." No one ever fucking says that. And it makes the conversation more frustrating from when it's always handled from this perspective of, "Well, this good thing I have has always been here, so it ought to not change." No, no, no. Each Tekken game sort of exists within its own context. So moves and abilities need to be modified according to this context. If we end up losing that, then we sort of lose the entire narrative thread for Tekken 8 as a game and what the ecosystem is supposed to actually look like. I wouldn't want any designers to just not change things because just can't keep stacking onto the same foundation. It all exists with its own context. Now, with this Yoshi spin example specifically, this is a flub on the Zhao Yu player. They should understand that going into the Yoshi matchup, he's capable of things other characters are not. Xiaoyu actually has a couple ways to catch a Yoshimitsu that's spinning off of a down forward one. The thing is, the difficulty lies in the fact that if you want to stay forward facing, you lose 2 frames of advantage and you'll have to chase the character down. In Tekken 8, this ends up exposing you to a flash from the Yoshi because you're covering the distance that he needs to perform the flash, and it comes out so quickly. Any potential attacks that you want to throw out, to check him because you confirm that he didn't spin, is going to be counter hit. If you go return the back turn, just allow the move to give you your +9 instead of +7. You can hit him with a launcher, and it depends on which way he spins, but you can also use back turn 2 to check him. So this is just a matchup thing. Everybody loves to hate having different matchups, especially in a game that's more grounded, quote unquote, like Tekken, but it's just part of the game.
Oh, Yoshimitsu can do this. He's OP. In certain situations, he's doing the same thing he was doing in Tekken 7, in Tekken 8. But now all of a sudden, it's a problem. All of a sudden. And that's why that's
So, to stop him again on this point, so I can elaborate a little bit, because him finishing that thought actually sort of just set something through my brain and gave me an extra thought. Well, in Tekken 7, in Tekken Tag Tournament, in Tekken 6, these are the every game where after homing moves are introduced are my examples here, because it's actually easy to sort of make this point. In all of these games, Yoshi's Flash was nowhere near as powerful as it is in Tekken 8. So chasing down a spinning Yoshi is no big deal, because you're going to be trying to realign anyways, just by the nature of how the game's back and forth actually occurs between opponents. So you dashing up and getting flashed is a rare circumstance, but in Tekken 8, this simple act of closing distance exposes you to flash. So you see that the risk reward has been skewed more into Yoshi's favor. I'm not going to say it's to his advantage, because situations vary, but you can see how it's different. This is why we can't make appeals to past games when talking about Tekken 8 or any of the effects within. Yoshi's Flash is so much more powerful that the situation just plays out differently.
That's why I stress that I do not want my character to be powerful, because people just reach like things that was never an issue before. Now all of a sudden it's
There
an
he goes
issue,
again.
and it's like this got to be stopped. They're going to destroy his spin, and his spin has always worked like this. Like this is why my sidestepping sucks, because I use the spin for everything. Like I've always spun out of stuff in Tag 2, Tekken 6, Tekken 7, Tekken 8. Like it's not a Tekken 8 thing where he can spin. I don't know why people are trying to attack that move so aggressively. And also too, you can get counter hit
Oh,
launched out of the spin. The spin, it doesn't count as movement. It counts as an attack. The reason why it counts as an attack is because it's attacking Yoshimitsu's health bar. What that means is
I'm going to let him finish.
you can get counter hit. And I feel like people are
Okay, so I stopped a little bit early. I didn't know when he finished that point, but this is one of the interesting bits that I feel like you can actually have a conversation around, because his perspective is rooted in intuition. And intuition can vary from person to person, and this extends to the people making a video game as well. His intuition tells him that because someone is losing health, that someone is taking damage as a result of something happening on screen or something they are doing, ergo, they can be counter hit. Someone is taking damage. Someone is being threatened by what's happening. But his intuition, which is completely valid, I understand why he'd think you get counter hit trying to spin, is completely wrong here, because there's no active hitbox that's threatening anyone. Whenever Yoshi is spinning, he gets clipped out of it as a normal hit effect. If you hit him with a tracking move, you won't get your counter hits, whatever it may be. And that's just always how the move works. It's like entering into a stance. You don't get counter hit for actively being in a stance, because you're not doing anything just yet. You're not threatening your opponent, and you're not threatening yourself. And the reason I say yourself is because Yoshi can be counter hit out of Harakiri, even if he's standing and not doing the back turn version, which actively threatens his opponent. He can be counter hit because it's the startup of a potential attack upon himself. The spin isn't the same. It's a stance. So there's no counter hit effect. He's just wrong here.
just so biased, and this is why I didn't want my character to be a part of this discussion at all, because no one was saying like, Tekken 7, this is horrible. But now that he's top tier Tekken 8, everyone's saying it. I just hate that, bro. I hate it, and you see it all the time. There was some post on Twitter.
He's not wrong here. Uh, the moment a character actually gains a significant degree of power, once the honeymoon period ends, because early on in Tekken 8, I was looking at Yoshi and I was telling, the homies, I was like, this character's a little stupid. And I was hit with a little bit of a middling agreement because people didn't want to believe it because Yoshimitsu's always been on the lower end on the of the tier list, you know? He's always been the very gimmicky, very flashy character that's difficult to play, but performs poorly at the higher levels. Um, and people were downplaying Yoshi a lot early on, but I completely get where he's coming from. Having your character be under the crosshairs, especially when you legitimately like the character and it has nothing to do with their power level and you'd be playing them anyways, is very annoying because suddenly you're just taking the ire of something that's not even your fault. And your enjoyment of the character is hampered by the behavior of the people around you. If you're playing ranked mode or quick match, you might only get one match in a set instead of the two or three you're supposed to get. If you're in a lobby, you may be kicked. I'm glad we're past that era and people just queue up into enter queues and just sort of wait for a match nowadays. But it's still, you know, it's still a problem. And there's also the accusation that any skill you may acquire, any improvements you may make that are completely independent of the character you choose aren't valid because you're carried or you're playing a top tier. This whole discussion is very frustrating because everyone's so invested in it, and the people who lose to a top tier character are just looking for excuses to just not man up. And that's just how people are, though.
Where people were talking about his hopkicks and how it evades highs and lows. It did the same thing in Tekken 7. This is just a moment where
This is another disingenuous argument in terms of past games and the performance of techniques within them. Yoshi's hop kick in past games was admittedly stupid. Having a high crushing hop kick ends up creating a situation where the risk reward doesn't make sense anymore and the proper counterplay doesn't make sense anymore. Because if you'll simply go under my jabs whenever I try and check you and take my frames, then there's not much I can do. I'm left to sit and wait. The issue with Yoshi's hop kick, or hop knee rather, is it's a problem that should have been fixed years ago, especially since it's not only highs that it goes under, it also goes under certain mids, especially from taller characters like Marduk or the Bears. And yeah, that's just stupid. That's clearly not an intentional effect, even though it's been overlooked for so long because it doesn't affect most characters on the roster.
everyone's like, I hate Yoshimitsu, and this is like your opportunity to just like say like whatever about it. It doesn't matter if it's right. It doesn't matter if it's something that he did in past games. It doesn't matter. Like Yoshimitsu is the character
Going to interject again, it doesn't matter if he did it in past games. Tekken 8 is a different game. We have to remember that.
who everyone hates, and now let's attack everything. Let's attack his hop knee. Let's attack his spin. Let's attack his backdash. Let's attack everything. It's like, come on, bro.
I just got to say this, Devilgen's goaded. I would have got hit by that Yoshi low spin, I'm telling you.
This is exactly why I didn't want my character to be OP, because people just cry about everything. Yoshimitsu was described in Tekken 7 as a work hard for nothing type of character. Think about that. Work hard for nothing is how he was described. First off,
People saying that hyperbolic bias. Yoshi wasn't bad at the tail end of Tekken 7, and neither was Lee. I always hear that about Lee as well, and it's very frustrating to hear of work hard for nothing. These characters were in their own niches by the time Tekken 7 ended, and they were solid in their own right. Yoshi could snowball out of control very quickly with his extremely powerful Oki setups, and Lee had really solid combos and could shut down certain matchups like against Haorong or Kazuya with his evasive techniques. Like they served their purposes. Just because they weren't literally the best characters in the game doesn't mean we should rewrite history and make it sound like that they were the worst characters in the game. The next portion of the video is just him having a little bit of fun um, playing around with a Howrong player, and also going over some of Yoshi's more effective tools and setups. I actually really appreciate that part of the video. It shows that he's willing to recognize the good tools his character has. He's not just downplaying, and even going from what he was saying before, he's not just exclusively downplaying. So it's fine to put that in his video. This portion of the video is also very important. It shows that he's considering the opposite perspective, and he's willing to argue from their position as well. He's not just thoughtlessly being that guy downplaying his character or arguing everyone else should learn the matchup. Oh, why is that French guy here? Or whatever, or whatever. He actually understands their perspective and is trying to argue for them as well, just to show it. So, as far as the changes and the hypothetical that he's actually given us, I don't find all of them contentious, and I don't have nothing to say for all of them. So I'm going to skip to the ones I do have shit to say for.
I think this move is too powerful on hit, right? It allows for some crazy Oki. You do this move, it allows for crazy Oki. They should figure out a way to nerf that.
So he sort of misses the point on forward 1+2 with Yoshimitsu. The issue with forward 1+2 is not that it gives good Oki as a combo finish, even though that is powerful in its own right. It does that, and it also does 20 other things. It's a mess of properties that just overlap and are all powerful in their own right, all strapped to a single move. Not only does it give you good Oki in a combo, it's also a ground hitting demon pedal. I almost said demon paw. Even though you can use it like a demon paw in heat because of the enhanced effect it has. It hits grounded. Can you be used as a Oki wall finish? It's a heat engager. It's a heat engage launcher. You regen health off of it. It's enhanced in heat. There's so many effects that are all just cohabitating on this one technique that it's a really difficult move to play around, and it's a really, really frustrating move to see exist, especially the heat effect, which enhances its range and also gives it an evasive hurt box that makes it difficult to counter poke Yoshimitsu in certain minus situations, like you hit him with a down forward one, or he blocks it rather, my bad, and he does forward 1+2. Sometimes you jabble with, and it's just like, what do I do in this situation? I'm in his face. It's a tracking move. It's a heat engager. It's a mid. So what's my counterplay here? And it's just like, okay, sure.
Something else that I just recently thought about as well, this move. I think that move should be nerfed. I think this move should no longer launch, and it should go back to being just a normal unblockable.
All right, so his commentary on that move is very interesting to me because his suggestion is to make the move completely useless except for a very particular situation, which will come up much less in Tekken 8 compared to older games. And the situation is a low life, you'll die to anything situation. So you'll want to use that move as a quick little nasty unblockable in order to KO your opponent. That makes the move useless. It's only useful in one instance. Not only that, movement has been buffed in Tekken 8, allegedly, and it's easier to sidestep. You can even sidestep what was previously a tracking move out of Fly Stance 4. So, cool, I guess. I guess they just will get away from that in most situations. And if you do use it, you probably did it by accident if it's not applicable. So he's already talking about making moves useless. He should be aware of that.
I guess people complain about his flash. I don't know what else you can do to it. It's very linear now. It doesn't work to the right, doesn't work to the left.
That's verifiably untrue. You can get clipped by flash, especially the heat mode or no sword flash, even if you're sidestepping in many different situations.
Think about Tekken Tag Tournament 2. Did you ever see a Yoshi flash in Tekken Tag 2? No, because it was trash, right?
No, because I didn't see a Yoshi. Sort of follows, right? Let's be honest.
So people just won't use it. And I know that's what you guys want. You guys want Yoshi to not use it. And I mean, hey, like if that's what you want, then okay, right? A move that
Well, it's not that I personally don't want Yoshi to use flash. I want them to be more thoughtful. And I don't want the advantages of flashing or the threat of the flash to be outsized too much, because the only counterplay available to many characters, even taking plus, you can't step it in situations because you're too close. So all you have to do is hold back on your own offense, and you have to wait. You have to see if he does a flash or if he doesn't. And this would be fine if other characters and universal defensive mechanics haven't been sort of mitigated or nerfed in so many indirect ways in Tekken 8. Yoshi being capable of doing all of these defensive shenanigans and mind games is a little bit stupid. Either other characters should be able to perform similar feats in gameplay, or Yoshi needs to be nerfed. There's no in between here. And that's sort of the system Tekken 8's been. That's sort of the hole we've been sort of marked into by Bandai and their decisions with Tekken 8.
So 78 damage. If you nerf that, right? Let's say, oh, that's OP, right? 65 if you don't delay it, 78 if you do delay it. If you nerf the damage on that, Yoshimitsu players will just do this combo instead. They will flash, heat activate. They will do that. 72 damage, and you get better Oki. You get better Oki off of this. So if you nerf the damage on that other attack, it then becomes useless, and Yoshimitsu will start doing this. And if you think like, oh, we'll just nerf that too then. Well, then you're just killing the whole character. Like, where do you stop?
Okay, I don't like this sort of correlation between a character's viability and combo damage. I think that's reductive. I hate stuff like that. And it's one of the main things that really tests my patience with Tekken 8 because too many characters have so much combo damage. The combo damage is universally through the roof to a degree that we haven't seen since like Tag 2, and people just quietly accept that. But I think his perspective on it's a little bit limiting because the other combo finish, Yoshi's current highest damage combo finish, 3-2-1+2 delay. It does something that 3-4-4 does not, or 3-4-4 does not, and that's it heals Yoshi. That's an extra little bit of unique utility that string has that the other one doesn't. Even if 3-4-4 for your wall finish hypothetically did more damage, you might want to sacrifice that damage in order to heal a little bit of health, and that's an interesting like tactical decision to make. As it is now, 3-2-1+2 delay does a little bit too much. It does all of the damage, and if you're in heat, you even heal back. I think it's 6 life points if you don't have any recoverable life, so 6 real life. It's like there's no thought going into your decision to use that. It's like I'm going to get the best damage. I'm going to heal a little bit. Maybe my Oki's a bit bad, but I can still see what they do and respond accordingly. And reducing the damage might make you pause a little bit as you're hitting the wall or you're comboing your opponent. You're like, man, do I want to push for a greater life lead? He sort of beat me up earlier. I should use the health steal finish. Or, no, I have to push this advantage. This guy, I can't let him off the hook for a second. I'll use the Oki finish. Um, Unfortunately, if they did end up nerfing 3-2-1+2, you could just use back 1-1 into forward 1+2 and get the best of both worlds because that move is stupid and probably shouldn't exist in its current form.
At a certain point, you're going to kill the character. And I know that's what a lot of people want. And, so be it. Like, if you guys want to kill the character, then kill the character. But regardless, bro, I can win. Like, I know people say, like, oh, I carried and whatnot, right? But
I actually like this optimism. Uh, whenever someone, whenever you're complaining about nerfs, you always have to be like, I'm not really worried about it, but hey, I mean, I don't doubt him. Of course he'll win. It seems like he has fun with the game. And it sucks that whenever you're trying to argue in favor of your character, people always try to make the claim that you're doing it out of some self-interest instead of your enjoyment of the character or your love of the game. So,
in my opinion, bro, or not even in my opinion, I was able to do serious work with Yoshimitsu in Tekken 7, and that character was trash, right? So regardless of whether or not Yoshimitsu's powerful, I can cook. Which is why I never wanted him to be powerful, because I don't need it. You don't need power if you're, like, good. And I'm not saying, like, I'm good. I'm just saying, like.
okay, so I will say there in that situation of forward 2, down back 2, and its equivalents into Hopney is sort of whack against bears because many of their mid pokes are completely crushed by up forward 3, his Hopney. There's also the added effect that because Yoshi is in crouch, his hurt box is even lower to the ground than before, which means it crushes under a whole smattering of extra things that it wouldn't if he was standing. Um, yeah, I just want to sort of put that on the side because it is stupid.
Tekken 7, Yoshimitsu was encouraged to turtle, right? You turtle and you heal that way. You heal, you make space so you can heal. But in Tekken 8, they don't want people doing that. They don't want people turtling. They want you to attack, to attack, attack. So they took away his turtling and healing, and they gave him healing through combos. And
Okay, I just need to verify he can still heal in other ways. I don't know where he got the impression that he cannot heal except in combos. I feel like he just hasn't, he doesn't remember or he didn't look into it, but he has other methods of healing. He still has a handful of the old ones as well, so he's just wrong here. I'm going to push that over. There's not much else to say.
that ruined the character. Their vision of like, let's make every character a rushdown is what made Yoshimitsu this way. He's not supposed to be this. He's not supposed to be a rushdown, but that's what they wanted this game to be, and as a result, like, they made him a monster.
Yep, and a little bit more compromise here of him showing that he understands the opposing perspective. Actually, really like that. Um, yeah, yeah, Tekken 8's sort of stupid. And the obvious conclusion of these design decisions apparently never came into the heads of the designers, or they didn't care. Um, I feel like they didn't care because they were already being a little bit experimental. I don't mind the idea. I've said that before, but still. Okay, well, I think that's about it. So, first things first, his this video is clipped out of a larger stream, a bigger piece of content, so his thoughts aren't exactly refined in a certain way because he was responding on the spot to people in his chat and whatever was going on in game. So that's the first thing. His response is different from my response because this is going to turn into an edited video at some point. Hopefully, maybe. I might, it depends on how lazy I'm feeling. So there's that. Number two, uh, he did have a surprising amount of restraint in actually sort of interacting with the opposing side's arguments. And kudos to that. That's something a lot of people can't do, especially in something as emotionally charged as video games, competitive video games, I should say. And that's good. I will say he should take some time and learn a little bit more about his character. The fact that he got the spin counter hit wrong, as well as the various other healing effects wrong, is sort of crazy. Um, yeah, I think that's about the thrust of it. Uh, I shouldn't thrust any deeper; it could hurt myself. So that's the end of this one.